Well, this past week I've listened with great interest to the testimony of Police Constable Zungu. And after all of that, all I could think was, what does this make of you, officer? What does this make of you? Partying and drinking with men who you knew to be criminals.
I am woman, I am fearless, I am sexy, I'm divine, I'm unbeatable, I'm creative, honey, you can get in line.
Hello and welcome, family. My name is Pel Motlhabane. If you are new here, you're most welcome. Please feel free to comment, to like, and to hit the subscribe button. If you are an existing subscriber, thank you very, very much. I appreciate all of you. Now, the past week has been very eventful, people. What a week. We got to hear from a police constable who managed to reveal some details that both shocked us and even left us wondering, well, Mr. Officer, are you here to uphold the law? Or you're a part of those shady businesses out there? Let me start with what to me felt like some positives from Constable Zungu's testimony, right? Because I do believe, for me, there were parts that were a bit enlightening, even though the credibility of the source still remains in question. I mean, from the very first time I started following the trial, I was looking out for a witness that was going to be able to quite specifically place these accused persons at the Khumalo household. That's what I was looking for. Outside of the occupants of the house, of course. So then this police constable comes through and he manages to tell us that on that day, he spent an afternoon of drinking and partying with 4 of these accused in Foslorus at a hostel not very far from the Khumalo household. At this point, I'm sure you may be like, wait, did you say drinking and partying? His testimony was quite clear on that. He went to see his relative who stays at that hostel. When he got there, the accused were already there. When asked how he knew the accused, the constable indicated that he knew accused 1 and 2 from back home. And in fact, accused number 1 was his neighbor back at home. Then as for the other accused persons, he had only seen them around Foslorus, right? So on that day, he says accused 1, 2, and 3 were all at that hostel, having some sort of a get-together, eating and drinking alcohol. And later on, he was the one to drop them off as he was leaving. So he may not have placed them at the crime scene per se, but he placed them within the vicinity of the crime scene. And even went on to say that later on that day, he saw 3 of them come in seemingly looking shocked, walking into his nephew's room. Nephew was the Gwabini, the one who hosted them. Accused 1 and 3 were holding or carrying firearms. One was holding a .38 revolver and the other one was carrying a 9mm. And we've heard for the longest time how it's been a toss at one point or another between a 9mm and a .38 revolver in trying to establish which firearm was used for the shooting. He placed both in the possession of the accused persons. Then as for the descriptions of the intruders, we've heard from all the occupants of the house, in fact, how one of the intruders was wearing a black hoodie. So now this constable comes in and tells us that accused number 2 was wearing a black hoodie while they were at that hostel. And later that day, when they all came in looking all suspicious, he changed from that black hoodie and wore a gray hoodie. To me, this testimony, it had a lot of pieces which were very conveniently putting some of the missing pieces to this case in place, very conveniently. Now, while I found all those pieces conveniently falling into certain places, I also found myself incredibly questioning this police constable. I mean, what business does he have fraternizing with criminals? What does that make of him? How can he possibly be in a position to uphold the law when he spends his time outside of office hours having a good time with the very people that he's trying to put behind bars? How can he be able to do that? At first I was like, maybe, just maybe he didn't know them like that. He didn't know them in that capacity. But then when a statement was read to the court, the statement that he wrote, it said after he saw these 2 accused of carrying firearms. He then checked for his own firearm, if it was still there and if it was still intact, because he was concerned that it may have been used because to go and kill these men to be in Gabis. So he knew what business these men were in. He knew what business they were into. And he had no problem spending all of his time with them. Meanwhile, the accused have denied. They have denied being at that hostel on that fateful day. Accused one has denied being his neighbor even back at home. Accused two said he was not even in Gauteng around that time. So now it became his word against them type of thing. Evidence is needed here. I mean, otherwise everyone is going to just make up their own story to back up their own version of events. Let's talk, guys. What do you make of this cop's revelations? Personally, I find it so convenient. I'm hoping to see more concrete evidence to sort of corroborate Zungu's claims, because it seems very, very convenient. It looks like it may take another couple of years to crack, really, which will be very unfortunate. I thank you guys for your time, and I'll see you again very soon.